everyone, my name is Jadeline Herminia. So I'm going to recite the intercultural communication. Uh, I choose intercultural communication because intercultural communication is one those terms that everyone uses in many different and not necessarily compatible ways, and also intercultural communication is a discipline that studies communication across different cultures and social groups, or how culture affect communication, and also study and practice of communication across culture contexts. Intercultural communication is about understanding that happen when people communicate with one another when they come from different culture. It's about an awareness of many different factors, such as how messages are delivered, like listening and speaking, difference in areas such body language, eye contact, touch, gesture, and nonverbal communication is silence, social cues. So, intercultural communication, as well as being its own discipline, overlaps with many others, including psychology, anthropology, biology, political science, economics, and public policy. An easy way to think about intercultural communication is that tries to teach us about ourselves as individuals and as a species by using the concept of culture to analyze how we create meaning and express that with other cultures. Intercultural communication is a symbolic, interpretive, transaction context process in which people from different cultures create shared meaning, like sabi ni Lustig and Koster, Intercultural Competence 2007. At its the most basic, as the above quote illustrate, intercultural communication is as simple as a conversation or interact between two or more people from different cultures. The purpose of intercultural communication is understanding how culture impact communication, help us understanding more about the areas of culture and communication. On top of it, help us understand more about ourselves as people and as a species. On the personal level, intercommunication can help us understand our own reference, strengths, and weaknesses when it comes to communicating, and this can help or hinder us when communicating across cultures. On a wider level, intercultural communication can help us understand all manners of things about ourselves as human being human being, from how we create meaning to the mechanic of the brain, to the use of language for social cohesion. As a practitioners of intercultural communication, training the purpose for us is to help professionals under how cultures impact their effectiveness when working abroad or in a multicultural workplace. For example, when we train an executive moving to the UAE, we will help them appreciate their own way of communicating, what they like and don't like, as well as possible biases they may hold. On top of this, they would also learn about the communication style in the UAE and potential areas of culture clash. So in this context, the purpose of intercultural communication is to try and prevent miscommunication and mismatch of communication styles. Through raising awareness of this, through training, it helps promote more successful communication on what are the five makes intercultural communication important. So number one is intercultural communication and teamwork. So many of today's companies and organizations are multicultural. Employees come from around the world. This is not only the cases with global and international brands, but also domestic companies and organizations, including the third sector, which have culturally diverse employees, learning to communicate and work with people from different cultures is essential if this organization want to be successful. So in this regard, intercultural communication is important because it helps teamwork. So letter B is intercultural communication and military. Believe it or not, many militaries spend a lot of money on teaching their troops intercultural communication. Why? Because when they spend time in foreign countries, they must learn to adapt their communication style in order to ingratiate themselves with the locals, or at least in other order to gain intelligence in the USA. For example, the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps plus other all offer training in intercultural communication or similar. In this context, intercultural communication is important. Is it could be the difference between life or death. So letter C is intercultural communication and healthcare, another field in which intercultural communication can mean life or death is in healthcare. Doctor, nurses, and medical professionals are now given training in cultural competence in order to improve healthcare for all patients. An ignorance of someone's culture and how they communicate can lead to poor care, misdiagnosis, and potential damage to health. For example, if a doctor doesn't understand that in some cultures the elderly would divulge intimate details in front of the family members, the doctor is not going to get the information they need. When a son or daughter bring in an early parent, they need to understand this and ask the child to leave so a private conversation can be had. So in this example, intercultural communication is important as it ensures good care. So letter D, intercultural communication and teaching. For teaching professional is working in multicultural school, learning about intercultural communication is essential as it otherwise can lead to discrimination, bias, and alienation of children from different backgrounds. Some culture teach their kids to the quiet and respect authority, others to be expressive and challenge ideas. Some cultures wait to be asked to speak, others speak when they have to something to say. The point is, as a teacher, if you don't understand the different ways your student communicate, you can make some bad judgment calls in the context of school and education. Intercultural communication is important because it prevents bad teaching. So letter E, so intercultural communication and marketing, advertising. A final example of the importance of intercultural communication is the marketing and advertising industry. A failure to understand difference in communication around the world can lead to all sorts of marketing fails and PR disaster. A lack of awareness of a culture's issue can even lead to claims of cultural appropriation. And similar today, the industry is much more culture savvy, understanding that to run to a successful and to ad marketing campaign, it has to be in tone with the target audience and their values. So in this regard, intercultural communication is important because it's help brands reach their audience. So 7 important intercultural communication skills are self-awareness. The key of understanding how other cultures communicate is to understand how you yourself communicate and how your culture has shaped you. So once you are more awareness of your own reference, habit, and possible and biases, and over time, it's much easier to understand how you may influence or impact conversation or communication Intercultural communication is not only about being aware of the other but also yourself. So, empathy, appreciating that you have been shaped by your culture and other influences, help create understanding, compassion, mindfulness, and empathy. Empathy is critical to intercultural communication as it helps you put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand what they may be going through. Intercultural communication relies on empathy as it creates a two-way street as opposed to being dominated by one of the other party. So let us sees respect with understanding and empathy, respect and natural logical progression. Respect means that you may not agree or like everything about someone else or their culture, but that you acknowledge their right to express themselves, their culture or values. Also, without showing respect, it is also important to receive it. Intercultural communication can only ever be effective if respect is the foundation. So, letter D is emotional intelligence. Working across cultures means learning to tune yourself into much of the unseen, intangible, and subtle aspect of communication. It's about using all your sense and engaging yourself, awareness, and empathy to understand what being communicated or not. The Japanese have a great terms for this, reading the Eryu Kooki Oyumu in Japanese, which brilliantly captured the mindset needed. Intercultural communication requires intuition and the ability to move beyond words. Letter E, adaptability. In some ways, the essence of intercultural communication is the help people adjust their communication style to promote clarity, harmony, and collaboration in exchange for confusing, weak relationship and competition. Therefore, we need to be adaptable. Adaptable is not only in how we talk and listen and use body language, but adaptability in how we think, react, and engage with other people. Intercultural communication gives us the insights and tools we need to be flexible and adapt our ways. So number F is patient acquaintance. Without a patient is like a candle with no light. It's Persian proverbs that perfectly captures why this is such as important skill when it comes to communicating across culture. Things work slightly different around the world. This means things might take more time than you're used to or less. Whichever end of the stick you're dealing with, patient is necessary for effectively intercultural communication as it moderates expectation and emotions. Liturgy is positively when engaging with other people from different cultures. It's always important to keep things positive 99% of the time. When miscommunication happen, it's not because anyone purposefully tried to confuse someone else. Most people are just trying to do what's right. Something if we lack cultural awareness, we misread what being communicated. That's why we need to always frame any sort of intercultural interaction positively. To be fruitfully, intercultural communication must come with positive intentions. What can I do? Improve my intercultural communication skills. So, A. Learn about cultural learning about other cultures, their values, and their communication preference will offer a lot of insight into difference around the world. There are plenty of websites that offer cultural overviews which you can find online, including our award-winning culture guides, as well as learning about other cultures. It's also a good idea to learn about some basic of intercultural communication. A good place to start in this self-study guide to intercultural communication on Letter B is watch TV shows. Much of us like to watch TV shows, so why not watch TV and learn about different cultures at the same time rather than listening to a poorly dubbed foreign movies in English. Listen to it is in its native language so you can hear how people from that country communicate. Streaming service today such as Netflix have TV series from around the world. So if you want to learn about Indian cultures, Turkish culture or Chinese culture, it's all there. So see, as people, if you work with people from different countries or have neighbors from abroad, you have excellent and top resource speaking to people about their cultures and about any culture's shock they may have experienced living in your country can give you all sorts of rich information insights as long as it's done with respect. Most people around the world love to share their opinion and thoughts. So, the third is listen and observe when it comes to actual communication. There are all sorts of types to help you improve your intercultural skills. For example, learning to ask open and closed questions where needed or avoiding humor. Here's a list of 10 simple types of you want to read more. Perhaps the two most important tips when it comes to communication are to listen more than you normally would and also actively observe what others are doing. So, of course, finally, if you want to start feeling away with your own culture makeup, address your own cultured biases and preference, plus to start to learn more about intercultural communication, then why not take a course, diba? There are plenty of courses available online which looks at various aspects. However, to get you started, you can watch the free videos from our e-learning courses on cultural awareness. It's a fantastic introduction to the topic of culture difference, communicating across culture and working with cultural diversity. So that's all, and I hope you understand it. So once again, sorry nawawala yung boses ko. My name is Ridin Medina. Have a nice day.